Hello, everyone. Good evening. John Henry Soto here. Welcome to Counterparts. As always, George Batista is coming to you live from New York. And I'm in Nashville right now. And we have a really, really great show today. It's something that I think we've covered bits and pieces of in the past, but we haven't
Yep.
necessarily done a whole episode on it. And I think this is going to be something that you're going to find very beneficial and get a lot of value from this, and especially George knows a lot about this stuff, and we're gonna have some good times. So stick around. Come on back. All right. Welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Appreciate y'all. Just real quick, if you do like what we're doing here, George and I, we do this every Tuesday night. It is live. Counterpartsshow.com. You can see it there. We have an app that you can download. It's a really great experience. We're going to be doing a lot more with the app as soon as George and I learn how to really use it. But as of right now, you can get out there. You
But
can
get on
message.
it.
Yeah. You can watch the show there. You can message us there, and eventually there's gonna be a lot more cool stuff on the app as well. But we want to thank you for supporting. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please, we don't say this enough, and I know people say you should say it. Like and subscribe. The likes really do help us, I know, and the subscriptions really do help the channel, so we can continue to do this and continue to bring value and some great guests that are coming on as well throughout the year. And that is that spiel. But thank you for the support. We really appreciate it. And we want to actually thank our sponsor, which I'm going to turn over to George to actually give our sponsor some love. George.
Absolutely. It's all about love with this show.
Love, love.
Yes. So, as always, the Counterpart Show is brought to you by Wellness Resources, a family owned and operated nutritional supplement company providing the highest quality, clinically formulated supplements since 1985. Find out why Wellness Resources supplements are the top choice of health conscious individuals around the world and folks like myself. Make sure you go to myvitaminresource.com to check them out. Also, make sure that you enter the promo code Counterparts, where you will get free shipping on your order because you're a friend of Counterparts. Oh, and one other thing, by the way, I just want to make sure you guys, just a last call, that the January sale for the thyroid and weight management supplements ends today. So make sure that if you guys really want to check those out and order them and get that discount, 25% off, get that today. myvitaminresource.com.
Sweet. Yes, thank you to them. Very, very nice. Okay, so little backstory. George and I have always been interested in health in one way or the other, even when we were teenagers. I don't know why. It makes
Just
no
happened.
sense. But George is I'm 4 years older than George, so George was about, I don't know, 15 years old, so I was about 19 years old. I guess that's kind of old at that point. But we were really into working out, and we were into supplements, and we were into nutrition, and just trying to figure it out. We had no knowledge whatsoever. We knew that we loved Lee Haney, and the fact that we had Lee Haney on our show was
Yes.
like insane, because we had
Yes.
posters of Lee Haney up, and we would read articles, and he would be on the cover of Flex magazine, and we would read the articles, and we would read all about Lee Haney, and he was actually on our show. You could check that out on our counterpartsshow.com if you're interested in watching that episode. But we've always been interested in that, and
Mhm.
as we grew older, that stayed with us. And George got very involved in it and became a wellness coach, and knows a lot about supplements and nutrition and yoga. I think you're yoga certified, right? And all
Yep.
that stuff.
Yep.
Um, so he's got a lot. He's got his insurance license. No, I'm just kidding. Um, he's got a lot of experience in health and stuff like that. And
Right.
So we decided, you know what? Why don't we do supplements are interesting, right? Because there's also organizations, companies, and we're not here to bash any company or any organization, but there are a few
Right.
of them that have almost like, I mean, we could say it, right? It's almost like a cult following
Cult.
in a way, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's very much a family. They're it's a tier thing. What do you call
Yeah.
that?
It's multi-level marketing.
Multi-level marketing. I don't knock multi-level marketing because it's made a lot of millionaires across the country.
True.
So it is something that you can make work if you have a good mailing list and a good system, and you work really hard on it. You can make a lot of money on multi-level. But when it comes to vitamins, I always thought that it was an interesting place for it. Like I could see it in other things like aluminum siding, or you know what I mean,
Right.
like
Right.
something that doesn't necessarily have to do with your health
Right.
for as a multi-level marketing thing. But somehow it's been working. And I know there's Herbalife, there's
Hmm.
Shackley, there's a couple other
Yeah.
ones.
There's a few others. Yep.
A few other ones. Now, one of our sponsors is Wellness Resources, which it's not they don't do that. They're just privately family owned from
Hmm.
1980, whatever, 85 or
1985. Yep.
85. And so we like them, and we love that they're our sponsor. We also don't want to say anything bad about the other supplement companies. We don't know much about the supplements today.
Hmm.
I think we knew a little bit about Herbalife.
Right.
Um, but anyway, what are your thoughts about just supplements in general? Because you're way more into supplements, and you
Mhm.
probably have tried a lot of different supplements throughout
Right.
your search until you found Wellness Resources.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really interesting because, like you said, it really started when we were working out. I mean, we were working out. I
Yeah,
mean, we were lifting
wearing our,
heavy.
wearing our
We used
tank tops.
tank tops, walking around the Bronx like we were, big and
Yeah.
bad, that type of thing.
I'm
And
just glad that there were no cell phones with
exactly,
cameras back then,
we had
because
long hair and all this.
the embarrassment.
Yes, but and we used to take. I remember we used to buy these big giant arginine pills. They were
Like
like horse
horse pills.
pills, the horse pills, right? We used to, and really because we used to read the magazines, and it was like we would see that there, yeah, amino acids, yeah, yeah, whatever, and we would just take these things
Yeah.
without even thinking about it. We just figured, hey, this might work, and then we'd learn a little bit, and then you would learn some stuff, and you would tell me, hey, George, check this out, and maybe we should
Yeah.
do this. Boron, you were taking it for a while. Remember boron? You were taking that for a
Taking
while.
boron all the time.
But again, not knowing anything. So
Yeah.
what's interesting as time went along, I mean, John and I have always stayed healthy, and we've always had that fitness mentality. But for me, it really it hit home to me, and again, I tell it on the show. I mean, I'm not going to go crazy into it, but it hit home to me because, John, you grew up with me, and you knew that I was dealing with a lot of different issues.
Yeah.
The bronchitis and the allergies and the sinus infections and all these things.
Corny jokes.
The corny
It went deep. It went deep.
Yes, the torture that you used to
Yeah.
torture me when I was a kid. But all these things, and I had no way, I didn't know how to deal with it. And
Yeah,
obviously
George was always
I always had tissues in my hand,
tissues in his hands.
Yes.
He was always just very very drippy. He was always dripping.
Yeah, sneezing and dripping.
coughing, and then it seemed like allergy season was like 11 months of the year for George.
Yes.
Like, just that was it.
Yeah, it was insane. I mean, we would play basketball or play softball, and I had to make sure I had my tissues and all. I mean, it was bad. It was bad.
It
And
was bad, I know.
but and through the years, realizing, reading a lot and diving into this stuff, and I was like, maybe I'm deficient in stuff. Maybe I need stuff because our diet at that time wasn't the best, right? Pizzas and Chinese food and all this type of stuff.
What was it?
Sabrosura in the Bronx.
Bronx pizza. What was it? Yeah.
Sal's Pizza in the
Sal's
Bronx.
Pizza.
So, that was the diet, and so, but supplements and of course cleaning up the diet, but supplements changed a lot of that for me. when I realized that I started taking supplements and I started taking the right ones and really kind of diving in, literally my health changed. And I was like, wait a minute, there's something to this now. So, and for whatever reason, I got fascinated with it. And then I just started really diving into it. And I think a part of it was because I was feeling so good
Feeling better,
from,
yeah. The
yeah, from
excitement
feeling
of that,
crappy.
it's gotta be. See, that's the thing about health, it's like, because people can feel okay, but they don't really know what feeling healthy is like.
Right.
They just kind of like, well, they get up sluggish, so they're gonna have coffee, and coffee gives them that boost. Then they
Right.
get to the they have a big giant meal, then they want to come home, they kind of gonna relax. So, what I mean? Then they're kind of like going through their life saying like, no, I'm fine. I don't have any chronic illnesses, right? I'm
Mhm,
not,
mhm.
nothing is happening yet, but I don't feel the best.
Right.
They don't realize it. And what happened to you is that you started feeling good and saying like, you know what? I want more of this.
Exactly. Exactly. And it was an energy thing. It was like, I mean, when it really kicked in, when I realized, and I, again, to this day, it's amazing. My allergies, my seasonal allergies went away.
I remember when you told me that, like, and it was a while ago, it was years and years ago. But I remember when you told me that, I was like, what do you mean? Because as much as I believe in supplements and as much as I believe in nutrition,
Yeah.
I have not known George to not have allergy
Right.
problems.
Exactly. Exactly. And literally they were, and I was like, and it was one of those things that you don't realize it until you realize it.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, wait a minute. I went through the last 2 years and I wasn't affected by allergies. Like they started getting less and less and less. And I'm like,
Yeah.
holy cow, I'm doing something right. So what am I doing? So I got to start
Yeah.
writing it down and all this. But what's interesting, John, and is a story I don't think I even told on my show. I remember the first time that I actually heard somebody say that their diet managed whatever illness they were dealing with.
Mm.
And it was a friend of ours. This was before my wife and I were married. This was before I was really got into all this stuff. We had a barbecue, and I'll never forget this day because I think this is the day that did it for me. There was my wife's brother brought a friend over, and we were all talking, and we were just chatting about life and this and that. And he says, "Oh yeah," he says, "I have diabetes." And at that time, I didn't even know much about diabetes. I was like, "Whoa, diabetes, sugar thing. Oh boy, he's well." And I said, "Oh," so I said, "Oh, so you're on medications and stuff like that?" And he goes, "No." He says, "I manage my diabetes with a good diet." He goes, "I eat," and he was telling me what he eats, and I was like, and this was like the first time I had heard this, and I was like, "What?"
What you eat actually can.
Yeah, what you eat? And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, and he goes, and I'm like, and he goes, "And my sugar is under control." And I
Wow.
was like, "Holy cow!" And that the light bulb went off for me, and
Yeah.
from that point on, because then I said, wait a minute, if he can do that, then maybe I can do stuff for myself. And that's kind of what started it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That was that
So
light bulb that went up.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
that moment.
Yeah, I mean, to piggyback on that, I had the same kind of situation. My family had all diabetes. My mom died from complications from diabetes.
Right.
My grandparents had diabetes. Everyone, our aunts and uncles had diabetes.
Hmm.
I mean, it
Yep.
was like pretty part of everything. If we had a pet, the pet had diabetes. Our dogs, goldfish, didn't matter what it was. Our roaches had diabetes. Um, it's nothing sadder than seeing
A roach with diabetes.
a roach shooting up insulin. I think that's what it was. Um, but I had 12 years ago, I went to the doctor because I was feeling dizzy. I would just get
Mm,
random dizziness.
right.
And I was coming down the stairs once when I was living in Queens. And I was coming down the stairs one day and I was like, whoa. I was like, I had to hold on. And I was like,
Yeah.
man, this is weird. And it felt like, your blood sugar went down and
Yep.
you needed to eat and stuff like that. So whenever that would happen, I would just think, oh, okay, I'm hungry. I
I'll
need to
eat
go
something.
eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not really normal.
Right.
It's not normal to
Right.
just be hungry and suddenly you get dizzy. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's
Right.
not
Right.
really
Right.
a normal thing. So I went to the doctor and, the doctor said, you're pre-diabetic. You came out, I was like, what? I was like, wow. And he said, he asked me the standard doctor questions,
Right.
which they're doing the best they can with what they know.
Exactly.
So, and I said to him, I remember saying this clearly. I said, well, maybe I can, I change my diet or something like that. And he was like, well, I mean, you can try that, but because of your family history,
Mm,
it's really difficult to, to change that.
right.
So I left there somewhat defeated a little bit, but then as I was going, I was saying, well, you know what? Let me just stop eating certain things that I
Hmm.
know are not good.
Right.
I stopped eating bagels. Like for some reason, bagels for me, like if I eat a bagel even today, like as a breakfast, let's just say, by 10:30 in the morning, 11 o'clock, I'm shaking.
Me too. Me
I
too.
cannot have a bagel. So I
Yes.
don't eat bagels.
Right.
I don't eat much bread at all. Like I'll have a little bit of a slice of bread here and there with like some avocado on it or something. But so I stopped eating bagels. I stopped eating pizza. I stopped eating, and I started feeling better, and
Right.
I was fine. I went back to the doctor, checked everything, no diabetes whatsoever. Like not, he couldn't even say I was pre-diabetic. There
Right.
was nothing
Exactly.
there at all. So I said
Exactly.
to him, I was like, "Oh wow!" So because I told him I changed my diet, and he was like, "Well, that could have been it," but he said, "This is what he actually said to me. It could have been that morning you ate something, and then when I took your blood, it came out in the blood, and that's why it came out because I ate something sugary or I ate a
Sugary.
bagel or whatever
Right.
it
Right.
was."
Right. Huh.
And at the time, I'm thinking like, "Oh, yeah, maybe that's true," but I decided, well, I'm going to continue this diet, this thing, because I just
Sure.
feel better, And as I went along and started studying more and learning more, and you and I chatted
Hmm.
a bunch of times and stuff, then I started realizing that yeah, and it is sort of isn't it ridiculous that we live in a on a planet where the idea that what you put in your body affects how your body functions is not the most important thing we talk about.
Right.
Like, that
Agreed.
concept is not the most important thing we talk about. And that should be the
The
only
only
thing we
thing
talk
we
about
talk
when it
about.
comes to nutrition.
You're right.
Right? But it's not talked about. It's, and we're not real we're behind in the on the planet. We are the most obese, and we're going to talk a little bit about obesity in a
Right.
little bit because of the 60 minutes thing that came out whenever it was. Um, but the idea that we are the most obese country in the world,
Yeah.
in
Yep.
the world,
Yep.
and I'm talking about, I'm not talking about, I'm talking about all the developed countries, underdeveloped country, everything. We
Right.
are the number one, and to that I would say we are the richest, we are the most famous,
Hmm.
right? We're the most famous country in the world. We're the greatest country in the world. We have a constitution that protects us. We have the Declaration of Independence that shows what we fought for and how we won and how we have our independence. We're certainly not a perfect country. There's a lot of things that we need to work on, but the foundation is strong. So because of that, this experiment of America in the 250, 60, or 200, whatever, 80 years, um, has elevated itself among countries that have been around for thousands of years,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
And we've actually have become, we're sort of like we're sort of like Elvis Presley in '54 when he came out, and
Right.
there were all these other stars that were huge, but
Right.
Elvis Presley came out and took over everything, and then and the Beatles also, so
Yep.
we're sort of like the Beatles. um so but the idea that we are that's where we are today, and that we don't have our conversations be only what we eat, and then to have someone go on 60 minutes, a doctor, and I'm gonna turn it over to you a little bit for that, and to say what anyway, what what did this doctor, and we're going to talk about supplements, obviously we're going to be talking about, this is what this show is about. I mean,
Right.
it's really about nutrition. It's really
Yeah.
about living well and taking care of
Right.
our bodies so our bodies can take care of us and we can function and get around. And I have a 6-year-old son, what I mean? And that takes a lot of energy. I'm not a
Yeah.
young
Yes.
man, you know what I
Right.
mean? So I have to, in the next 20 years, I want to be around. I want to be healthy. I want to be able and even now, I'm playing soccer with him. I'm playing football. We're playing, all these other sports and stuff. I was skateboarding the other day. I mean,
Nice.
you know what I mean? And it's like I have to keep this thing going, and the only way to do that is through nutrition and to taking care of our bodies. But what
Exactly.
did this doctor say?
So this doctor who's actually going to be part of establishing the
Sorry.
new nutrition.
Oh,
You're right there.
yeah, I was just thinking of a joke. I was like, right.
Who's going to be
Not
part
really a
of?
joke because it wasn't funny.
Oh,
But
well, laugh track. But it was yeah. She's going to be part of the new nutritional guidelines, apparently, that they're coming out with, or whatever the case may be. But she said to Leslie Stahl on 60 Minutes that obesity, and of course I'm paraphrasing, but obesity is for the most part genetic. So the lifestyle things that you do, the exercise, the eating right, and all these types of things that normally you correlate with losing weight and all this, really is a very small part, or if doesn't pretty much play any role in obesity. So, for example, if your parents were obese, you're going to be obese if it was in the genes, quote unquote. So now, obviously, you can see there's a correlation of parents who are being obese where the kids can be
because
obese
they're all eating the same food.
because they're all eating the same. Exactly.
Duh.
And here, and here's the thing. And I think about this, and I'm like,
And
let
they're
me
also,
ask you this.
yeah, go ahead.
No, let me ask you this question. If this is such a fact, okay, if you take that obese family and you put them in sub-Saharan Africa and they live off the land for years, are they still going to be obese?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're number one, they're taking the responsibility. They want to take the responsibility out of people's hands.
Right.
Okay. To push whatever it is they're going to push, right? To push drugs and surgery and that type of thing. This is nothing that's a secret. I mean, they've been talking about this.
No, I mean, no.
Right. They've been talking about this. Okay. But take the responsibility out of the person's hands and say, that's okay. It's okay if you're obese. You know what I'm saying? We have this and this for you. Try, forget about the lifestyle management because that really
Eat whatever you want.
Eat whatever you want. Yeah.
Take these pills.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sad that this is what's being taught. And this is going to go into our schools. This is going to, this concept is going to go into our schools.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to, there's an outcry of this. I mean,
yes,
this person did not do well. Even Leslie Stahl was kind of
like what? Yeah, right. Yeah.
I would have loved to see Mike Wallace if he was still around. See what he would have said. He would be like, "Are you crazy?" But the school system is not. First of all, I think a lot of parents are sort of like waking up a little bit on the school system overall. Right.
Yes.
People have to understand the school system's only been around for 100 years.
Right.
Prior to that, it was homeschooling and it was one-room schoolhouses and it was like one person in the community and it was a lot of internships that you did and people were an apprentice for somebody that they wanted to take. And that was what it was. 100 years ago, we know what happened. We don't want to go into that part of it, but the school system was created. So the school system itself is not, it's a government run system. So we're basically just saying to our kids and to our, and I have one kid I did take out my daughter out of, I think I've talked about that. My daughter is homeschooled. Both my kids were homeschooled for a very long time till we moved to Tennessee. Right. My daughter went to school for a year. Now she's back in homeschooling. And my son still goes because he's in kindergarten and he loves it and doesn't want to miss pizza day and pajama day. So for that reason, I'd say he can still go, and he still likes it there. And I pack his lunches also, so he doesn't eat the food there. But part of the what's happening right now is there's so much black PR on what the school system is overall that people are going to at some point notice that their kids are getting whatever they're getting for lunches. The lunches now are pretty bad as they are. So this woman is going to make them actually worse, or this concept or this system, whatever, it's going to make them worse because then they're saying, well, you could eat donuts for lunch. Absolutely. You can have, all right. If you have an illness, like obesity, because they're calling it like
an illness, a disease.
illness, a disease, then we have to treat it. And how do we
Right.
treat it? There's only one way of treating things in this country, and if you go against it, you know what happens. So
Exactly.
George and I are not saying that all of it is bad, and we don't want to be canceled. But then again, George and I talk about it, and we don't really care. I mean, think about it. If George and I get canceled, we're still going to do the show on Tuesdays.
Exactly.
It'll be me and George talking, and if anybody wants to come in, we'd love to have you here.
Yeah, we've been having these conversations all our lives anyway. So,
We've been doing this anyway. It'd just be our weekly call to each other. But so yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But I want to go over just a little bit about obesity real quickly.
Yeah.
And these are so it says 4 million people die each year as a result of obesity, according to the World Health Organization. They're reputable. The worldwide obesity rate has nearly doubled since 1980.
Mm-hmm.
It says the World Obesity Federation, also known as WOF, is predicts that by 2030, 1 in 5 women and 1 in 7 men will have obesity. Now, this is interesting because they talk a lot about have obesity.
Have obesity, right?
They have obesity.
Yeah.
It says here, currently more people have obesity than underweight in every region of the world, with the exception of the sub-Sahara Africa and Asia. It says the obesity rate in the United States continued to climb during the COVID pandemic, increasing by 3%. Of course, because people are home eating.
Right.
Ordering out too. Even I got a little chunky. So of course we've known this since the beginning. I'm gonna call that thing C. Now I'm gonna say the word because I know that sometimes it triggers things. But obesity increases the risk of severe illness from V19, tripling one's risk of hospitalization, according to the CDC. So the CDC has stated obesity increases the risk of severe illness. This is something that's the CDC is saying, so it's not us saying this. Obesity is linked to 30% to 53% of new diabetes cases in the United States every year.
Right.
And that's the research from the Journal of the American Heart Association. And the medical cost for people with obesity in the United States tends to be 30 to 40% higher than those for people without obesity. And the reason for that is because it's very expensive medications to treat people with obesity.
Right.
Or who are obese. So anyway, there's a lot more. I'm actually going to link the articles at the bottom here.
Right.
So if you guys want to go check out what source we're using, so you're not thinking that we're just talking smack.
Making this up.
Yeah, we're not making it up. This is one of the. It's going to be at the bottom. This is a Forbes.com.
Right.
Health/body/obesity hyphen statistics. And then there's another article that I'm going to briefly read a few things about, and then we're going to go into supplements. We're at 30 minutes, so we're actually perfect timing.
Yes.
So this is actually from healthline.com. More than 1/3 of adults in the United States have obesity. Again, have obesity. Right. In the United States, 36.5% of adults have obesity. They keep saying have. Another 32.5% of Americans are overweight. In all, more than 2/3 of adults in the United States are overweight or have obesity. Obesity affects 1 in 6 children in the United States. Obesity is linked to more than 60 chronic diseases. 60. This is okay. If you are overweight or have obesity, your risk for dozens of diseases and conditions is higher. These include, of course, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, stroke, cancer, and many others. Overweight children are more likely to become overweight adults. Your waist size increases your risk for diabetes. Obesity causes more death than being overweight. And of course, obesity is very costly. Obesity costs
Yes.
Americans $147 billion each year.
Wow.
People who have obesity pay more out of pocket than people who are not. In fact, the medical costs for people with obesity are $1,429 higher each year than those with a normal weight. Your ethnicity can affect your likelihood of obesity. Your ethnicity may impact your risk of obesity. Almost half, 48% of non-Hispanic Black people have obesity. They're followed by Hispanics with 42%. Non-Hispanic white people. Why do I always say non-Hispanic and then the thing? Non-Hispanic white people with 36%, and non-Hispanic Asians with. They don't say non-Hispanic Hispanics. Why do they use non-Hispanics on every single thing? I'm not Hispanic. I'm a non-Hispanic Hispanic.
Fake Puerto Rican.
Fake Puerto Rican. I guess that's what it is. A fake Puerto
That's
Rican. You're a non-Hispanic Hispanic. Yeah, man, I'm not that at all, man. So it says obesity is most common in middle age. Adults between ages 40 and 59 are more likely to have obesity. In fact, more than 40% of adults between the ages have obesity. Older women are more likely to have obesity than older men. All states have obesity rates over 20%. All states.
All.
We got 58. And this is as of 2017. All 50 states have an obesity rate of over 20%. Just two decades ago, no state had a rate above 15%. 2 decades. So in 20 years, we went to every state being 20% over. The South has the highest obesity rate. West Virginia leads with 37%. We got Mississippi coming in at 37%. Alabama, Arkansas are close. And you have Louisiana rounds up with 35%. Those are the top 5. Colorado has the lowest obesity rate. And the lowest are 22%. So it says that people who live in the state have obesity. Washington, D.C. is a close second with 22.6. Massachusetts, Hawaii, and California all have a population with obesity below 25%. Well, I think California is because the food is so expensive, nobody could afford to eat.
Exactly.
They're just eating sand. Americans are eating more calories than ever before.
Yeah.
So 23% more calories than we did in 1970.
Look at
that. Just one more. Individuals with obesity miss more work. I don't think they miss it. Nobody misses work.
Who's missing work?
No, but they say that people who are overweight or have obesity miss about 56% more work days than people of normal weight.
Right.
So what have we learned there? Besides non-Hispanic Hispanics are an odd thing. So me as a non-Hispanic Hispanic, I don't know what I am. I'm a Puerto Rican from the Bronx, so I grew up with the best food ever. And this is one of the things that George and I talk about because, man, when you got your arroz con habichuela con pollo and pollo guisado, and you got all the most amazing food ever sitting in front of you, and it tastes amazing, and then you have a nice, a Coca-Cola or a drink or what is Sunny Delight?
Sunny Delight.
Sunny D. Remember Sunny D?
Sunny Delight.
It was nothing but sugar syrup. Had no nutritional value whatsoever.
Right.
But that was, it's really difficult to kind of move people away from the fact that not only can you eat really tasty food, but it'll be good for you and it'll strengthen your body.
Correct.
Now, what the question that I want to ask you, George, is something that I've been that came to me earlier today, was that what supplements do you think are, or what deficiency do you think is one of the leading causes of like obesity and the deficiency as far as like what, or not even obesity, but just in general, what's one thing that the body that you know for a fact that we're missing, we're lacking, we're just deficient in? Coffee?
Yeah. Hey, you got it.
Got you covered.
I would say probably magnesium.
Okay.
Magnesium. If I let's say two, let's just say top two: vitamin D and magnesium.
They work together too, don't they?
Correct. Now, here's the issue when it comes to health, and we can kind of break it down a little bit as much as you want, basically. Okay. Everybody's deficient in something. Period. End of story. Everybody. We don't know what necessarily we're deficient in unless we get like actually really, really expensive blood tests that will tell us. But everybody's deficient in something. And the problem is this. The reason why, and this goes back to the whole supplement debate, right? The supplements that we're, talking about why supplements, why we should supplement and these types of things. Okay. Because and I did a whole thing on this. Deficiency is a problem because of the way food is grown. When you look at the way food is grown nowadays, and I can give you a few statistics. I actually did some of this on my show, so a lot of it is fresh in my mind. They did a study, just so you know. They did some studies from 1950s to 1999. They found that minerals, for example, which minerals, remember, the body can't make minerals. Minerals have to come from the ground, right? The plants suck up the minerals. So calcium, phosphorus, iron, those types of minerals. When they compared it to the 1950s, they found from anywhere from a 6% to a 38% drop in minerals in the soil from 1950 to 1999. Okay. Now, if we move on, magnesium, the magnesium content in vegetables, when they measured it from 1920 to 2001, roughly around that area, they found the magnesium content has declined by up to 25%. And then that's not counting all the other trace minerals, the coppers, the zincs, and those types of things. So the problem is that as time goes on, and that's not counting what they put on the soils, right? You have Roundup, the pesticides, the glyphosates, and what ends up happening. If you look at it this way, right? Minerals, again, man cannot make minerals. The ground they have to come from nature. The plants suck up the minerals. We eat the plants. Well, when you put all the stuff on these plants, it makes it very difficult for them to suck up the minerals, right? So the plant even becomes somewhat deficient. Now, the plant has enough of the mineral to grow, but it doesn't have enough of the mineral that you can take in, right? So now what happens? So let's say we're 25% deficient. We take those greens, like magnesium is in the center of the chlorophyll, the green. So, you get your green magnesium when you get your green. So you take that, and then you come home and you cook it. Okay, let's say you're going to eat it raw. Let's say you're going to cook some of these vegetables. Okay, well, now you're going to lose some of that through cooking because that's normal. So now let's say you're 50% down, right? Then you have to eat it, right? And digestion itself is going to strip away some of that. So you can take, let's be conservative. Let's say you're going to take away another 10%. So now you're at 40%. So what the plate that you just ate is only giving you 40% of what you should have. Right? Now, let's say, just for very basic purposes, you eat that same exact meal, which people don't, but that same exact meal again. Well, now you're at 80%. You still have to account for the 20%.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So the whole point of it is that it is almost impossible to get all our vitamins and minerals from the food because of just by the way the food is grown.
Now, what if, because you see that people pay extra money for organic.
Right.
Now, what does that mean? Does that mean it's better grown in a better?
Well, or yes, I mean, if you want to go organic, then obviously, yeah, there's the extra cost to it, but it's better because now you're obviously doing it in your backyard is the best thing, right? Because we have a
Right.
garden in our backyard, so we do it, and it tastes much better too.
Yeah.
But organic is better because now you're minus a lot of that stuff. Okay,
Right.
you're minus, so it gives you a better shot, but you're still behind. So if you go back to the 25% example, you're still behind by 25%.
Right.
Because just of the way it was grown itself, you know what I'm saying? There's certain amount of, because no matter what, there's still a certain, forget about the pesticides right now, the soil itself is devoid of it.
Right.
Okay.
Because they've
And you
been
could,
using the same soil
correct.
for like a billion
And when
years.
you look at selenium, they have maps of selenium. And there are gaps when you look at the selenium in the country, there are gaps of places that don't even have selenium at all. And there's only a few states that actually have an abundance of selenium. Most of the other ones don't.
Wow.
So this is where the problem starts, right? So now you couple that with how many people are actually eating greens
Right.
regularly at every meal, right? 3 or 4 servings of fruits and vegetables at every meal. Not many, right? So they're already behind. Right. And then they're drinking their Cokes and all these things and blah, blah, blah. And then again, how many people have the best digestion? Not a lot of people. Digestion is one of the biggest problems we're having right now between acid reflux and proton pump inhibitors and, you know, all these gut problems that people are having. So
Right.
they're even having problems digesting what they're eating because the gut, they have leaky gut and all these types of things. So this is one of the big reasons that we are deficient today.
So is there a way to get again the Celine Dion on in other
Well, I think
countries?
isn't she going to be on the Grammys or something? You can get no. So you're talking about getting selenium?
Yeah. Yeah. Is there another way of getting selenium?
Well, you can get it in, like, let's say, for example, nuts. You can get, you know, the Brazil nuts and different types of nuts will give you magnesium and give you selenium. The issue is that the food that has the most is the food that we eat the least. Right?
Oh, okay.
The nuts and the seeds and
Right.
the flax and the greens and all that. And when I say the least, as a society,
Right.
what
Right.
we eat, right? The food that has the most, what we eat, right? How much are you going to get in the McDonald's hamburgers and all these types of things, right? You're not really going to get much of that. It's ultra processed stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, so then it leads me to the point of, okay, so if that's the case, what's the problem with the body? Well, the body runs on the nutrition. The body runs on vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and fatty acids, right? So when you eat food, it's broken down at the cellular level. It's broken down pretty much to those 4 components. Wow. So your body needs those 4 components in order to run enzymes in order for things to happen. So if you're not, and this is interesting, there's a gentleman, his name is Dr. Bruce Ames, AMES. And I'll just show a quick picture of him. That's what he looks like. That's a younger picture of him. He's like 94 now.
Wow.
But he is a biochemist and I mean, he's a scientist. He studies all this stuff. He's been doing this stuff for many, many years. And he got into nutrition and studying how vitamins and minerals work and all this stuff, still doing it at his age. And he found, he came up with this theory called the triage theory, which has been tested and proven. So it basically says that when you ingest, let's say, vitamins, vitamin K or whatever it is, your body is going to ration it. The human body is going to ration it. Okay. How does it do that? So for example, vitamin K, if you take the 2 biggest things that vitamin K does, a lot of things, but let's say the two biggest things that vitamin K does. Vitamin K is responsible for a protein that works with blood clotting, and it's a calcium binding protein. Okay, those are the 2 things that it does, among others, right? So your body's going to take in the vitamin K, and it's going to make sure that it has enough for blood clotting. Why? Because if you cut yourself and you don't clot, you're dead.
Right.
So it's going to ration it to whatever the proteins that are crucial for your survival at that moment. If it doesn't have if it doesn't have enough left for the other proteins that are what's called longevity proteins, that are things that may kick in 15, 20 years from now, well, tough luck.
Yeah.
Okay. Because those things are not going to kill you now. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's going to ration it. And that's how the human body does it. It rations it to the point. So if vitamin K, for example, it binds to calcium, so it takes calcium out of your blood vessels, right? So it doesn't get sticky in there, right? Well, if it doesn't have enough to do that, you're going to build up calcium. That's not going to kill you now. It'll kill you in 20 years.
Right.
But as long as you don't bleed out now, that is the key. So he found that many of these vitamins, that's how the body utilizes them. So this is when people, when they get older, they go into a hospital with calcified arteries or heart disease and all these types of things. A lot of times it's because they don't have enough. They're deficient because the body was using it for what it needed at that moment.
Wow.
So,
by the way, I had a girlfriend. She had a fatty acid. So
you got a big fatty acid.
Fatty acid. We had actually talked a lot about when we were younger about amino acids.
Correct.
Right. And the building block of muscles. And we always whenever we worked out, you break the muscle up. What builds it up again is the amino acids. So you needed more amino acids and stuff like that. So it seems like we can't really rely on food to give us the building blocks of muscles,
right?
As much, or at least if you're eating organic and you're growing, you have a grass-fed cows and you have your chickens are free range, and if you're doing those kinds of things, possibly you're going to get more. But the air condition of the driving the air, the toxins in the air, even this technology stuff is also bombarding our
Yes.
bodies with stuff. There's so many other things. Are there any supplements that you like, a regiment? And I know that people can also reach out to you. And by the way, George does a show and he actually talks about all this stuff and he goes in deep, and I watch it, and he goes deep on these things. So make sure you follow him. It's just right here on Counterparts, right? You can go to go to counterpartsshow.com and you can watch.
Yeah, or you can go to you can go to georgebatista.com as well.
Yeah, you can go to georgebatista.com, which I think I don't have it here. Interesting. georgebatista.com or counterpartsshow.com. You can watch the show there. But is there, what regiment would you let me give you an example of someone. Someone comes to you right now. They have obesity. They've been diagnosed. They've been diagnosed with obesity to their surprise.
Right.
What's one of the first things that you would, one, tell them not to stop doing, and what's the second thing you would tell them that they would have to start doing?
Okay. Well, obviously, if I've worked with a lot of people, obviously taking a comprehensive thing, because you have to find out the backstory, what they eat, what their lifestyle is, how stressed they are, all that stuff. So all that gets put into this whole piece to this. Okay. So basically, looking at their diet, you can, and here's the interesting thing, by the way, most people are not completely 100% honest, right?
Right.
I eat healthy. Yet no, you don't eat healthy. I only had one piece of pie instead of two. You know what I mean? It's it's that type of thing. So you have to look at the diet. But one of the things I tell them is, listen, one of the keys to losing weight and being healthy in general is you have to understand the way the body works as far as hormonally. There's a hormone component in this whole thing also, not just the fact of losing. It's not just calories in and calories out, that type of thing.
Right.
That's part of it. But there's a whole nother piece to it also. There's hormones involved. Okay. There's hormones when it comes to leptin. Leptin is the hormone that gives you the full signal. A lot of people are eating way too many calories because leptin is not giving them the proper full signal. Okay.
Not saying
So
stop.
exactly, it's not saying stop. So a lot of people are eating too many calories. A lot of people are eating too many meals during the day. They're snacking way too much for their level of output. So if they're not exercising, but they're taking in too many calories, but not, again, putting that output, the body has to store whatever calories it has. It's not burning, right?
Right.
Okay. So one of the biggest things, and I tell you, this is the number one thing, and this is probably one of the number one things I find that people have a problem with, is eating before they go to bed.
Interesting.
That is one of the biggest things I have found in working with people, that they have this problem where they have to snack right before they go to bed. So they may start their dinner at 7 and they may eat their go to sleep at 10, but they have to have a snack at 9.
Right.
You
And then
know,
that kicks up the glucose.
correct. It not only
For,
kicks up the glucose before so it stops any kind of fat burning that happens when
right.
you're
There's no
sleeping.
fat burning at all. So you're
Exactly.
sleeping without burning any.
But it also throws off all your hormonal switches, because leptin, one of the things that leptin does is leptin manages all these hormones, melatonin and all these things, and the circadian rhythms and the clocks and all this stuff. It throws all that off.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what happens is, let's say, you end up going to bed late. Let's say a lot of people go to bed at 12 or 1 o'clock instead of actually good. And then they end up being hungry later in the next day. Why? Well, because their body's craving the food, because now their energy is down,
Right.
and the body wants nutrition to bring that energy back up.
Right.
Right. They're starving really internally.
Yeah.
So eating before going to bed is one of the worst things to do.
So you got to be nice to Leptin, because he's not gonna.
Yes, Leptin, Larry Leptin is.
What if Leptin doesn't speak English? What if he's like? But
and he's a non-Hispanic.
He's not Hispanic. Are you a non-Hispanic, Leptin? See, so one of the eating late thing is a big problem for a lot of people, and I think
Yes.
that's like probably, I would say, almost like up there, if they can control that.
Yes.
I do intermittent fasting, so
Right.
I eat, my last meal was about 6, right before I came on here, about 6 o'clock.
Right.
So I won't eat again until tomorrow, like noon.
Right.
Like,
Right.
and it's crazy. I never thought I could even get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
there are days that I feel like I need something.
Mm-hmm.
And even and this is like, and I mean, I'm not like overweight.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that I'm super healthy, but I am. I work on it,
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I asked you that question was, there are times that I do feel like I need something else, and I might have a slice of bread with peanut butter on it, like, like at 8 o'clock at night, because I'm like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to get, I'm my mind is like to whatever, and it could be a lot of different reasons for it,
But let me ask you, what would happen if you didn't eat at that point? What would happen to you?
I'll probably be cursing out Lipton.
Leptin soup.
Lipton is just, no, probably nothing. I probably would just feel like I go to bed hungry, or just feel, you know what I mean? And for the most part, 99% of the time, that's what I do. I suck it up. You know what I mean? I'll have some water. I'll drink some tea.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's what I do. Even eating a piece of fruit is still bad. You're still doing the same thing. You know what I mean? So, but the reason I asked you those two questions about what you would say not stop doing and what you would start doing is because it's not that simple.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And this is what people don't understand, that if you want to be healthy, you have to take the responsibility.
Correct.
To know that this is actually work, and it may be annoying when you first start, but the benefits of being healthy are so amazing, but yes, it is going to be but you have to, first of all, you have to find the right person to work with. George would be a perfect person to work with. Go to your doctor, because we are not doctors here. Go to your doctor and make sure that you can actually do one of these, and have your doctor recommend a nutritionist or a dietitian or someone that really can work with you. But it is a responsibility, and it's not a simple thing, especially if you think of how long, if someone has been diagnosed with obesity, if someone has obesity now, how long did it take them to get there?
Correct.
How long do you think it's going to take you to be healthy
Exactly.
again?
And that's the problem. People want, and again, people want that fix. And
It's that
I've
fast
again
thing,
talked to so many people that want it done in the next month. But meanwhile, they've been doing, been like that for the past 10 years.
yeah,
And that's the first
or
thing I
30
tell them.
years.
Yeah, or maybe
I
more
know
than that. And
people
I
who've been
tell
eating poorly for 30, 40 years, and they,
yes. And I tell them that you have to understand this is a process. Forget about even the weight loss, because if you're truly doing the things that are healthy, the weight loss is going to
it's
happen.
automatic.
It's going to
The
happen.
body's going to be
Okay.
functioning properly.
And it's like, it's interesting because, um, talking about supplements and kind of getting on that whole piece, like, my sister-in-law, who's she was diagnosed with severe osteoporosis. Okay. And she's not a person who's never really been healthy. She's been, doesn't eat that great, blah, 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 this and that. But years ago, I put her on a supplement regimen, and I said, this is something that, you need to, I think you should do. And she was willing to do it. And one thing I could say about her, she was faithfully getting the supplements regularly and taking them. Okay, great. At least try that. Okay, that's what I said. At least try that. She had all her scans. She goes to her doctors regularly. They were okay with her being on supplements. It's simple, like multivitamins and vitamin D and those types of things. Very simple stuff. Would you know it that, what was it, a month ago, she went to the doctor, her bone doctor again, did her scans. No osteoporosis to be found.
Holy cow.
Zero.
Really?
Gone.
I didn't know this. Wow.
Yes. Okay. And I was like, wow, look at that.
Yeah.
And again, this was simple. She didn't do, as she was working out and strength training or anything like that. She just took these supplements on top of, her food and on top of her regular lifestyle or whatever. And, what she did worked. So, what I say is, what I say to folks is, yes, you're going to have to take the responsibility. There's no, you can't leave it in the hands of the World Health Organization, or the WHO, or Roger Daltrey or anybody like that. You can't, you know what I'm saying? You can't, and yes, there may be a cost to it. Yes, you might have to buy a multivitamin that costs you $25, $30 a month. You might have to buy a vitamin D that will cost you a few dollars a month, that will kick up your immune system. So this way you have less issues with immune problems and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, even if you're doing simple, those are, by the way, the two that I recommend baseline for everyone.
Right.
Okay. You're assuring yourself that when you're eating your food, that you are ensuring yourself from the gap that would come from what you would get from your food to what you need. Right. Because and that's the whole point of supplementation. It supplements what your diet is. Right. So take a couple of multivitamins a day to ensure that you're getting the selenium, the magnesium, the vitamin C, and all these things, and then move on. It's not that simple. And then if something is off, okay, then we can work, and let's see, maybe we can boost up on something. But the problem is, and here's the other misconception. I'm sorry, I'm kind of going off here, but
no, go.
One of the misconceptions that people have about supplements, because they don't know, is that they think, well, I'm going to take collagen and then my face is going to look better. Well, I'm going to take, a thing of magnesium, and that's it. That's all I'm going to take. Well, no, it doesn't work that way. Think of it as like a recipe. You have to have all the ingredients because they all work together, right? You don't just take B12, you take a B complex. Right. So they all work together in your body because they all feed off of each other to run enzymes and do different things. So you can't think of it as far as isolation. You have to think of it as, at least, let's say, a multivitamin, which has all this stuff. Then if you want to take extra magnesium or extra vitamin C or something like that, then you throw that on top, but you have the foundation already set. And people have to think that way.
Right.
So anyway, that's one of the biggest misconceptions about supplements that people have, that they think they just should take one thing and that's it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so
It is like what you said. It's exactly right. It's a recipe.
right.
It has to work together, and it is a supplement. It is to actually supplement your already, you know, remember, I mean, we're sort of in a food war.
Yes.
Food is it's a very it's publicly traded companies that are making a lot of money selling products that are produced very cheaply, and
Right.
they charge. I mean, if you get a box of crackers for $1.59 and they're making a profit of it, how much do you think it cost them to make that a box of crackers? If they're already selling it for $1.59, you know what I mean?
Right.
If
Exactly.
you go to McDonald's and you get 2 Big Macs for like $5, well, how much do you think that they put that they need to make money?
Yeah.
They need to make money,
Of
right?
course.
That's
Of
what they are.
course.
So we're not in a, and again, eat what you want to eat. I mean, and I'm not saying anybody, this is America,
Right.
right? And the bottom line is that people are responsible for they should be responsible for their own health. You want
Yes.
to eat McDonald's every day, that's on you. You know what I mean? And more power to you. But the bottom line is that if you want to be healthy, if you really, really just decided, you know what, I am tired of feeling like crap, then you have to then get educated in
Right.
what is out there that's going to be helpful, what's out there food wise, what are your options.
Mhm.
You have to know how to go shopping. Like I went
Yes.
today somewhere and I was looking around and, wow, there's really not a lot of things that you can actually, that are really going to be healthy. I found a few things that I was like, oh, this is good. Organic stuff. And I put
Mhm.
I got some stuff. I got avocado oil and some better quality oil. Seed oils are like really bad, and we can do a whole show on seed oils alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's a responsibility that you have to kind of say, you know what, I'm going to start paying attention. I'm going to start reading. I'm going to start, watching George's show, and doing that, because I think that's part of the war that we're in, and that's how you can win the war,
Exactly.
by education.
Exactly. And I think the last 3 years have really highlighted this concept, because I don't think it's any mystery to say that our outcomes within the last 3 years would have been way better if people would have been healthier.
Yeah, and if that
Right.
was pushed also by the
Exactly.
media, and put health and eat better and supplements and take care of yourself, I think that would have
Right.
been a much better thing. Linda Berman says, true, I have to take 4 times the amount of potassium suggested in order to come out right in the blood work. Also, to subdue my foot cramps at night. Wow.
Yeah.
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 So
And potassium is one of those things that if you lose too much potassium, you could end up with, heart, meaning like heart fibrillation, these types of
yeah,
things, electrolytes and all that, it's
Yeah.
tough. And, and again, you have to eat, like, avocados and things like that have, a good amount of potassium, but you got to eat a lot of them in order to get it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? In order to get enough potassium. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like we were saying, that even coming into the 3 years, I mean, we were in horrible shape,
Right.
right? And then all of a sudden we get hit by V19, and well, there you go. Well, this shows you. So I'm hoping, and I think there's going to be some awakening, and I'm kind of seeing it now, but I think people now coming out of these years now are going to start to really take a little more responsibility and say, you know what, here's what's interesting though. Did you know that in the beginning of this whole pandemic, vitamin C was sold out around the world?
Really?
Yeah, even I had trouble getting it.
Wow.
Yeah. So people know that there's things out there that can help them. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, what I'm saying is we're hoping, and John and I doing shows like this, my show, and other things that we're going to be doing coming up soon.
Yeah, we got some great things coming.
Yeah, are going to highlight the fact that let's get ourselves healthy. Let's start really paying attention and get ourselves back. So if anything like that ever happens again, that we're in better shape.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you, Linda Berman, for her comment. Appreciate that, and thank you everybody for watching. Remember the subscription on the YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, is really it really helps the show a lot, especially so we can continue to do what we're doing. Also, go to counterpartsshow.com for our app. Download the app, and you can communicate there with us directly and watch all the episodes. So this was a great episode. We did manage to squeeze in Celine Dion. We talked about Roger Daltrey. We talked about The Who.
Non-Hispanics.
Yeah, we're talking about, we've had everything into here, music and health. Although I would actually take health advice from Pete Townsend because I think he's pretty great. So,
Yeah, true.
So if there's any Who I'm actually going to be listening to, it's him.
That's right.
You know. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We appreciate y'all very much. We'll be back again to next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. George, thank you. That was awesome.
Thank you, sir.
And, please follow George and watch the show. You can go to georgebatista.com. You can watch it right here, counterpartsshow.com, counterpartsshow.com, and watch the information, because that is one step you can take to get educated and to get the information that you need. And reach out also if you have any questions, reach out to us, and we'd be more than happy to, have you talk to George about stuff as well. I'm winded. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. And we'll see you all again next week. And as always, peace.